Praise be, blessed be the fruit under his eye. Welcome to Gilead, where all freedom has been stripped. If you knew those lines and you understood them, then you're a Handmaid's Tale fan, and that's what this video is about. At the end of the month, Handmaid's Tale Season 4 is finally coming to streaming services on April 28th. They are releasing 3 episodes on that day and will have weekly releases after that. And if you don't know what Handmaid's Tale is, this is the perfect opportunity to start it and to get into it. I'm going to give you a smaller, more of a brief summary on what this show is and what it's about, and then we're going to get into some phrases and terms and knowledge of the show without giving you much context, so you can basically say what the hell is going on. First of all, when I first started watching this show, it took a while to get into it. I didn't want to watch it. I just thought it wasn't for me and it wasn't going to be my thing, even though I love that type of atmosphere and drama, just darker TV and movie in general. But I wasn't feeling it. I just didn't want to watch it. I don't know if there's a term for like the Handmaid's Tale fandom. I don't know if there's like something you call Handmaid's Tale fans. I'm gonna call them Maidenites. So my mom is a massive Maidenite, and she's the one who was just pressuring me to watch this show. Finally, one day I cracked, I threw it on. I'm like, okay, fine, I'll watch it. And I was hooked. It's a fantastic show. So The Handmaid's Tale is a book, and the woman who actually wrote the book, Margaret Atwood, is a Canadian author, which has now been turned into a 3-season show, soon to be 4. The show is basically about how a theocratic dictatorship, a religious cult, has taken over America and has changed the name from America to Gilead. It is about how men are first-class citizens and basically control the country as a whole under the rules of their own, but they try to spin it off as if it's rules from the scriptures, from religious teachings, and the women are basically lower than second rate, and most of them, if you're a handmaid, your job is to be a baby-making machine. The world in a lot of different areas is crumbling. Pollution has risen to a max. Food is starting to somewhat die out in certain parts of the world. The birth rate is drastically dropping year by year. So a group of people who made an underground movement for Gilead turns America into this dystopian future. So as I've mentioned, the show is very dark. There's tons of nudity. There's just straight up swear words every couple of minutes. And I will say the show can be a little hard to watch if you have a weaker stomach. There are some things that I could honestly see how maybe certain people might not be able to watch certain scenes. All in all, I think what The Handmaid's Tale does so well, it shows how some religions and parts of the world can actually be like this. And it shows how a lot of women in different areas of the world to this day still have freedom completely stripped from them. I would suggest this show to specific people in those situations, because this show just really lights a fire under your ass to just say no more. Like, it really gets that blood pumping, and it really shows you like that even in some of the darkest areas when it comes to religions and governments and power and control, it really does show that it's not the end all be all, that there is always an answer and there is always a brighter future ahead. That's what this show captures so well. Alright, now we're just gonna get into it. We're gonna look at a glossary that the Handmaid's Tale universe has basically laid out for you, and I think that's really important because there are so many terms and just so much rich history that this show and let alone book created. And thanks to a website, refinery29.com, here is a list of groups, terms, and people that you will see in this show. Starting off with the first one, Aunts. They are a class of infertile women who are in positions of power. Aunts instruct handmaids to fulfill their childbearing duties for commanders and their wives, and also guard unwomen in the colonies. Many aunts are true believers who were involved with the cause before the official Gilead transition. Unlike other women, aunts are permitted to read and write. Ah, yes. The beauty of Gilead, even women cannot read and write unless you are an ant. So for those who don't know Handmaid's Tale, that part there where it says childbearing duties for commanders and their wives, we'll get into that, but commanders are, of course, the men who are running Gilead, or just the man of the house. Handmaids need to have sex with the commanders, but the commanders cannot have sex with their own wives. No, instead, the wives need to watch as they have sex. Now I have your attention. Let's continue. Next, you have angels. Gilead's high-ranking army of soldiers that fight in border wars and guard important places like the Rachel and Leah Center. Off-camera, angels are currently fighting the exiled American government in Anchorage, Alaska. Angels are second only to commanders. Basically, angels are just the soldiers. They're the army of New America of Gilead. They explain briefly in the show that they are off fighting a war over in Alaska, and it's probably easier for Alaskans to connect to Canada than they are to America, so they rightfully are refusing to go with the trend of this new world that Gilead has created in America. And very briefly, just want to mention that Canada is the safe haven in this story. Canada did not confine to the way America has changed its government and its laws. So whenever someone is trying to escape Gilead, the safe haven is Canada. And once you enter Canada, you can live life the way it was always meant to be lived. And you can live life the way you were living it before, when you had freedom. That's why Canada's the best. This term I love, the birthmobile. Not the Batmobile, the birthmobile. A car that transports handmaids to another handmaid's birth. So when a handmaiden is giving birth to a commander's child, that child will now be the child of the commander and his wife. Not the commander and the handmaiden, the commander and his wife. So when a child is being born from another handmaiden, well, all the other handmaidens in that sector will gather at that house, and they will basically cheer on this handmaiden to give birth to this commander and his wife's child. How I started this video, blessed be the fruit. It's basically just hello. Greetings. And another common term they will always use in the show that's usually followed up is may the Lord open. Blessed be the fruit. May the Lord open. The ceremony. The monthly handmaid ritual meant to result in pregnation. The commander has sex with the handmaid while the handmaid lays in the wife's lap. So adorable. What a cute little ceremony that must be. The husband's wife sits on the bed and the handmaiden lays in between her legs. The husband comes in and has sex with the handmaiden while the wife looks into the husband's eyes. The camera's the husband, I'm the wife, the handmaiden is right between my legs. While my husband is banging our handmaiden, we look into each other's eyes as if we are the ones having sex. If that's not rape, I don't know what is. Now you can see what I mean when this show is just very dark, very dystopian, and just super gritty. And it really makes you feel for these handmaids because no one should ever be put into a situation like this. And I can tell you, when you watch the show, all you want so desperately is for these handmaidens to escape this country. You just want them so bad to tear down the walls of this Gileadian America and just destroy it. You want these women to be free so badly. Even thinking about it, it's such a powerful feeling. Watch it. They really dive in this region in season 3. It's called the Colonies. So regions of land that have been decimated by pollution and radioactivity. Unpeople who do not fit into Gileadian society who are sent to the colonies to work to their deaths. Now, a lot of people are fit or will be suited a life in the colonies. People who have maybe sinned in an unforgivable way in Gilead, or people who have broken the law, maybe even certain handmaids who just are not capable of breeding a child for commanders and their wives, or the big one, gender traitors, which is actually at the bottom of the list here. Gender traitors are women who engage in same-sex activity, and their crime crime is punishable by hanging or being sent to the colonies. So those are the type of people that work in the colonies. And what you do in the colonies, you're just like digging dirt all day, digging up soil, and you're not being fed anything, you're not being given water, you're just being worked to death. That's basically what the colonies are. And it's highly radioactive. So if working yourself to death isn't gonna kill you, well then radioactivity will. The whole gender traitor thing does feel very medieval, because back then if people found out of homosexuality, you were murdered, you were stoned, you were set on fire. Like, this is the world that Gilead has now created in America, and it is fuck. I'm gonna be skipping a little of them here because I don't want to give you everything. So now you got eyes. Short for the eyes of God, eyes are Gilead's force of spies and secret police. Eyes remain hidden until they drive up in their black van and make public arrests. Anyone can be an eye, including women who often work as informants. They are basically men who hide in plain sight or hide very discreetly. They keep an eye on everyone to make sure they are following the law of Gilead, and if you are not, they are reported to commanders. And in so can mean a lot of things, a lot of different punishments, such as the colonies or hangings or any type of death. Eyes are basically kind of like an FBI in a sense. You got the big one, Handmaid. Fertile women who bear children for wives and their commanders. Women become handmaids if in pre-Gilead they had been divorced, married to a man who was divorced, or did not have a husband. Handmaids work for commanders in 2-year terms. If a handmaid successfully has a baby, she is spared from going to the colonies. But if a handmaid works with 3 commanders without giving birth to a successful baby, she is sent to the colonies. That is what their life has been diminished to. Disgusting. Yet the show is just so entertaining. These ones kill me. Jezebel. Prostitutes who work in a secret club accessible only by commanders and foreign ambassadors. This whole world they've created is basically despising of those types of actions. It deems that wrong and disgusting and just outright sinful. But yet, it's okay for the men, for the commanders, to get their rocks off every once in a while. And Jezebels are allowed to drink and do drugs, whereas every other woman, such as the handmaids or the aunts or the Marthas are infertile women who work as caretakers and cooks in a commander's house. All those women, in a way, have less freedom than a prostitute. This one, just the way it's termed, is amazing. Salvaging, executions. People who are executed are considered to be salvaged, as if we're just mechanical parts. Like, I'm just gonna go salvage the battery pack from that laptop. I'm gonna read this last one here. Tokens, currency for women, especially handmaids and Marthas, to use when shopping. Since women are not allowed to read, tokens contain illustrations of what they can purchase. Well, you know, if you can't read words and letters, the least we could do is draw you a pretty picture. So with a very limited context, I hope I maybe brought some sort of picture of what The Handmaid's Tale is actually all about. And if you haven't seen it, maybe you will consider watching it, because it's only gonna want you to leave in more. The show does star Elizabeth Moss, Yvonne Strahovski, which she's an amazing actress and unbelievably underrated. Joseph Fiennes, which he himself is an amazing actor. The cast is fantastic. Everyone does their job well. If you get the chance, start watching it now. And if you've already watched it, well, let's get ready for season 4. And as a greeting for hello and goodbye, I will leave you with this: under his eye.